Alright, now I know what you're all thinking, but fair, you like anime, why do you dislike Funimation? Well, I've got a very good reason for that. In fact, I've got several good reasons for that. I have a lot of issues with Funimation as a company and just as a whole, like everyone in it. And we'll start off from, well, the least problematic parts of it. First of all, they have a bad habit of censoring things even when they say they are uncensored. Their uncensored version of some shows is still censored, which kind of strikes me as odd. If I have to enter my age in order to gain access to this in the first place, why is there still censorship on it? I would really like to tell you what shows were censored, but unfortunately I don't want to admit to ever watching that show because it made me very uncomfortable to do so. That being said, I still think that if you wanted to watch it uncensored, you still shouldn't have to deal with censorship. But there's bigger reasons beyond that, and one of them came around just recently with the re-release of Higurashi. Now, for those of you who don't know, when the Higurashi cry, or Higurashi no Nakukoro ni, for those who want to spend a huge amount of time talking in a language no one else around them speaks, was a fairly popular show way back when it first came out. It had all kinds of really great family bonding moments for the whole family to enjoy, like when a small child was strapped to a cross and stabbed to death by a criminally insane madwoman, or the time the crazy lady decided to disembowel the child priestess on top of the shrine that she actually worked at. You know, for the family. Needless to say, this was not a particularly, kid-friendly show, which is why this is even more egregious. And don't worry, telling you those people died didn't actually spoil anything because it's got this whole time loop thing going on. But the point is, the little girl used to refer to her brother as Nini, which is a malformation of Oni-chan. In Japan, this means older brother. Now, here in America, no one would ever refer to their older brother as older brother, because that's not what we do culturally. But it was a fun nickname that she used for him. This was a perfectly reasonable thing for a child around 8 to 12 to be doing. They decided, however, that this needed to be translated. This did not make much sense. And worse yet, they translated it to Big Brother, which is not a nickname used by anyone. Big Brother, like a toddler would use, is often used by incredibly young children because they cannot pronounce brother correctly. It is not a willful nickname, so you're already wrong on the premise of what it's supposed to be. And it gives a very dangerous view of this character who we're supposed to take as someone who is mature for her age, but emotionally scarred to the point of mischief. You've taken this character and changed them into someone who is mentally 5. So not only are you misrepresenting the character, you're also translating it wrong, because she is not mispronouncing Oni-chan, she is willfully deciding to use a nickname, which brings us to the next problem with this. You're actively removing the cultural aspect from it. They defended this decision by saying that there should be no Japanese left in the anime in the translation. They are supposed to translate everything, because we cannot have any words from any other language in our show. Which is really weird given that no one ever translates chakra. Chakra's not an English word. How about sayonara? We use that. I guess we should also get rid of cliché and niche, or literally any of the other words that English borrows from any number of fucking languages. I don't know if you noticed this, but there are some languages that have words for things that simply don't translate well. And we here in America are not beyond the capability of understanding that other languages exist, or indeed understanding what words mean from other languages, even if we don't have a direct translation, at least in a single word. But I guess Funimation thinks that everyone in America is a moron, so they decided to translate this for us because we're incapable of understanding that she has shortened Oni-chan. Do you remember when they used to change the names of all the characters in the show to make it fit in more here in America, and everyone collectively agreed that that was really stupid and kind of offensive to the original material? Yeah, you're going the wrong way on this one, Funimation? If you could just U-turn real quick for us. So not only are they calling all of us stupid, but they also are erasing part of the cultural aspect of the anime. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the point of anime being spread throughout the world, and the fact that Japan actively seems to be spreading its culture willfully through Project Cool Japan? You know, to spread their culture. It's an intent of their government and their people to spread their culture, because they want other people to have access to it. And frankly, that's a perfectly good thing to do. You should always be okay with other people looking at your culture saying, hey, that's neat, we should do that. Spreading culture grants you a sort of soft power in the markets of the world, and Japan understands that, so they willfully spread it. You say they should have translated it, and, well, that's the problem. It wouldn't translate well. It works in Japanese because they would refer to someone as older brother there. No one would refer to their older brother as older brother here in America, which is why we mock movies that have someone say, "Oh, hey, big brother so-and-so." It's awkward, it's clunky, it's not what we do here, so it sounds wrong. But in Japan, that's perfectly acceptable. So in one fell swoop, you have insulted everyone, mischaracterized a character, and decided to cancel an entire culture because it might not translate easily. My other problem with Funimation is that it seems to be an almost monopoly at this point. They have been acquired by so many people, and those people have acquired other things, to this point where every major anime streaming system in America is owned by the same people, unless you count pirate websites. And that kinda seems like a monopoly. This is unhealthy for the consumer and the market because it means that they decide what does and does not come into America. They are the only competition for what comes into America in the form of anime from Japan. And if a company in Japan wants to provide something in America for any kind of money, they need someone over here to license it, which means they have to go through one of these streaming programs. And that's not always a good idea because the prices get inflated. When you are the only bridge into the country, you can decide what things are worth, and they do some pretty mean things to the overseas companies, forcing them to accept woefully small profit margins for something they put in the vast majority of the work for. Imagine being an artist who created a great work of art, it sells for $20,000 at auction, and you get $20 out of it because, oh well, it was so much work bringing it into a different country and selling it here. I had to amp it up, make it worthwhile. Yeah, but they fucking made it! And the fact that the creators often get much less of the cake when it comes to America dissuades them from really pushing to bring something to America of any quality that might not have a broad market. Which means a lot of the really good stuff ends up being part of the Hidden Gem series on my channel because no one's fucking heard of it. Because it wasn't brought here, because it wouldn't appeal to a massive market. I've been to Anime Boston and I saw exactly one person cosplaying a character from Gossick. I've seen 0 people cosplaying a character or even selling something from Pale Cocoon. In fact, one of the highlights of all things when I went to Anime Boston was that I actually found a figurine for Last Exile, which is a very small anime that may very well end up being on the Hidden Gem video someday. This means they hold the copyright to virtually everything that you see here in America for anime, which means that there are no other versions of it for you to watch, because they only sign exclusive contracts. You will sell through us, and you will sell through us alone, and that is it. Which means if they fuck up on those subtitles, or they fuck up on the dub, or they decide to change things because they want to culturally purify anime for you, which is a terrifying concept, this means you have literally no other option. Which is a real problem when they get into politics, something I did not want them to do. They decided to lever in some political bits into several anime. One of the most notable ones was, of course, Dragon Maid. I've brought this up before. The line that they levered into that anime made no sense there. The line was not political in nature, the content of the anime was not political in nature, and that dialogue was way outside of the characters for both characters. It was so clunky and obviously levered in by someone else. It was so clearly not part of the original dialogue. I mean, yeah, there was that time they referenced misogyny, but we're talking about Dragon Maid here, because it's one of the easiest ones to reference, and there have been a lot of them, mind you. In Dragon Maid, Toru asks, "What's with that outfit?" Lukua, or whatever her name is, responds, "Everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. How is it?" Toru says, "You should try changing your body next." Well, this fits. This fits fine. This is perfect. Everyone's in character here. Toru is more sensible and is generally pretty jealous of the outrageous body that the other one has, and doesn't like that she wears such skimpy clothing because she feels as though this person is intentionally trying to draw attention to themselves. The other one is either blissfully unaware of the fact that her body is so outrageously sexualized, or she's doing it on purpose. Evidence would lead us to believe that it is some combination of the two. She enjoys wearing less clothing, and subsequently abusing that to her own gain. But in the Funimation dub it says, "What are you wearing that for?" Which isn't a necessarily wrong translation, that can work. And Lukua responds, "Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes." What the fuck? Not only do I believe that this person is too stupid to fully understand the idea of a societal patriarchy, not because she's a girl, but because of how they've characterized her, this doesn't make sense on a lot of levels, some of which political, which unfortunately I can't get into here because politics are not what we do here, and I'm really not looking forward to the kind of the backlash that even this is going to incur. Then Toru says, give it a week, they'll be begging you to change back. This is also incredibly out of character. Why on earth would she ever want her to change back? She should be overjoyed about it. She should be wanting her to, be less and less sexually appealing. Hence why in the first one she said you should try to change your body next, because she's a sarcastic person around this other character. Levering in politics that have no purpose there is a problem, because not only are you not being faithful to the source material, not only are they not being faithful to the source culture, which is almost as bad as the infamous jelly donuts in Pokemon reference, or swapping out the giant rice ball for a sandwich. By the way, I'd like to point out that this show thought that children were smart enough to understand the prospect of insurance fraud being committed by Giovanni, but did not think anyone would be smart enough to understand the concept of a rice ball. But it's also harming the characters in the story, and while I'll grant you that there isn't a huge amount of overarching story in a slice-of-life comedy anime, that makes the characters' consistency and attitudes all the more important, and the way they levered in these politics harms the characters, which was completely out of tone for prison school, and at absolute best a massive and gross exaggeration of the events in Hajimete no Gal. This is not an accurate translation on any level. So Funimation has no respect for the consumer, has no respect for the culture, has no respect for the medium, and has no respect for the people who actually make it. What do they have respect for? Money. Yours, and a lot of it. And now that they're all owned by the same people, if you want to enjoy anime at all, you pretty much have no choice but to go through them. They have single-handedly monopolized the entire Japanese cultural market, and they don't care. They keep responding that they don't care. Their voice actors constantly say, oh, well, you're just being ridiculous, whenever they're called out on this bullshit. Which means their voice actors don't care about the media either. Oh, I care about the media, you just don't understand. No, you don't. If you cared about the media, you'd want it translated correctly, with the vision and intents given by the actual original company. If you cared about the media, you wouldn't want it to be going through a single parent company. You'd want there to be competition so that you're sure that the people in Japan are not being abused because you have the entire thing bottlenecked. So yeah, that's, well, the major reasons why I don't like Funimation and why I don't subscribe to them. I unfortunately have to subscribe to one of their parent company's other anime sites because I don't have a choice. At least if I actually want to watch anime. So let me know, are there any translations that you found particularly egregious? Any political levering where it wasn't supposed to be that you thought was kinda stupid? Head down to the comments and let me know your personal story about Funimation, or if you don't agree with me, let me know why. I'd really like to know what the arguments for Funimation and this intercultural monopoly they're running through their parent company. Are there any arguments for it? Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and other things that help me with the algorithm. Funimation's a lot smaller than Disney, so I really don't think I'm going to be, killed or anything by them. But at the same time, I have reinforced all of my doors to hopefully prevent their assassins from getting to me. So agree or disagree, be sure to head down to the comments and be entertainingly angry.